Today's show is sponsored by Indie Film Hustle's Filmmaker Process. We provide filmmakers with professional services to get their films or series funded, finished, and distributed. For more information, go to filmmakerprocess.com.
I was going to ask you about Prince of Persia. Was that
something? It's a rewrite.
It's a rewrite. Okay. So
yeah, and actually I became really good friends with the guy who created the video game and wrote the first drafts, right? But that's very much an example of what I'm talking about in the Hollywood world, right? Like, there was a video game. Bruckheimer bought the video game and hired Jordan, who's a wonderful guy, to write the original script. Then they hired another writer to rewrite Jordan's script. Then they brought me on to rewrite the second writer's script. I did a bunch of work on it, a couple of drafts, and then went, I think this is what I got for you guys. And then they hired two other guys to come on, a writing team, to come on, and they wrote the rest of the way for like the next year and a half. The movie comes out, and it's like 6 people have written on it. I guess they decided that what I did had enough of left in it to have a credit. And that's a credit that you have, and it's interesting because people say, oh, you wrote Prince of Persia, right? And you're like, yeah, I mean, I guess, is there 2 words in that thing that I did? I don't even think so. But that's what that particular machine is. You make money, you get residuals, you get health benefits.
This is the reality, dude. This is the reality of being a writer.
And you cannot fucking complain about that. I mean, how many jobs are there in this world?
Right.
Other than these fucking Elon Musk types, right? But how many jobs are there in this world that you work on something for a few months, you make hundreds of thousands of dollars, you get health benefits. If it does well later in ancillary markets, you keep getting checks every year for a few $1,000s that I didn't, you pay Boaz, $20,000 for Prince of Persia came in 5 years later, right? Fucking amazing, right? So it's a factory, it's a machine. You do it to make a living. And that's, I'll never get another job again, I'm sure, if any one of these people listens to this.
I'm sorry. Maybe you'll get the right job.
I don't know. I think people know I think this, which is why sometimes I have a hard time getting those jobs, He doesn't
really care about the dog with the cape. He doesn't care about the dog with the cape.
I don't, but I'll do a good job if I have to do it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Look, what can I say?
No, I get it. So when you what was your involvement with Now You See Me? Was that an original or was that
that's an example of a friend of mine, a very good friend who's actually a great person to talk to because he's a writer's writer. My friend Ed Reichort. Mm-hmm. Ed worked for like 10 years, and I did mentor him a bit and co-wrote something, mentored him. Had a lot of years of not succeeding. And he had this idea for a script that at the time, I remember we were sitting in a car and he called it something insane, like Poof or something like that. And he was like about 4 magicians who rob a bank in Vegas and in Paris from a stage in Vegas. And I was like, Ed, this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard, right? Like, I was just like, don't bother me.
There's no money here.
Utterly brutal, dark, personal film that I call Death and Love about horrible family dynamics and stuff like that. Right. And after I finished it, I was kind of in a place where I was like, holy shit, I don't know if I'll even know how to ever write another commercial script again. This is like a year later or something like that. And I was talking to Ed, and Ed said, Boaz, I wrote the first 15 pages of this script. Fucking read it, right? So I picked up Ed's first 15 pages and I read them, and I was like, like essentially everything that Now You See Me became, and very successful, right, and second movie and all that, is based on that first 15 pages of Ed's, his concept. And I was like, Ed, this is a great idea. How did they do it? And he goes, and I was like, oh shit, okay, oh, it's like that, huh? And I was like, I guess I better get in here with you, right? And so I then got in with Ed, and we basically fleshed it all out. But it was Ed's concept, right? And then I came in and I helped him figure out how everything would work, and we came up with all the solutions and then mythology and all that, and we wrote it. And in fact, it got sold. And it was interesting because we had one of those moments where they finally, after a few drafts, replaced us with someone else. And Ed was very upset. You know, he was hurt. And I was like, Ed, this means they might make the movie. And that's exactly, it's like what I was telling you before, right? Until they hire someone else to rewrite you, that movie is not getting made. And they did, and they ended up making the movie. But Ed and I really created the concept and the first draft, and they took it from there.
Because it's pretty did you go down the rabbit hole of magicians and how magicians do things? And had to, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for the time that we wrote it, absolutely.
Did you interview guys?
An expert on all that stuff while we were writing it.
Did you interview magicians? Did you talk to magicians? What kind of research did you do for that?
Well, I mean, we do have the internet.
There's that.
Which, by the way, has made research a completely different experience than it used to be back in the day when we had to go to libraries and call people up and all that stuff, which was an interesting experience in and of itself, right? It was much slower, but in some ways richer. But yeah, there's the internet, and we also interviewed 2 or 3 magicians and blah, 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 but, did our research.
And went into that stuff. And of course, you took a couple trips to Vegas, obviously, just for research purposes.
I think I've been to Vegas already. I don't know if we went there for that, but yeah.
To watch the rest of this interview, head over to bulletproofscreenwriting.tv.